Hey there, I'm Jeremy Watson. I'm a product leader here at GitLab representing the plan stage. And I'm joined by Christen Dybenko, our product leader for the product planning group as part of the plan stage. I'll also be talking about the project management group and kind of what's ahead in 13.9. We're super excited to talk about this release and what's ahead for this awesome new release that's releasing February 22nd, 2021. Christen, over to you. Talk a little bit about what's ahead for product planning.
Yeah, so for the product planning team, we are going to continue to work on our Epic boards, which we started in 13.7 and has been our main focus. I'm just going to pull a screen here. You can see here in the progress for our MVC1, if I open these up, a lot of the effort has been happening in 13.8, but we do still have the end of the work, around 10 to 12 points in 13.9 to deliver MVC1. And basically what this one would get you is the minimum requirements to be able to create an Epic board and like see it on the board and interact with it, but you can't delete it, modify it, or do any of those actions with it. So that's what we tracked to in 13.9. If we roll up a level in terms of Epic boards as a whole, there will be a follow-up MVC2, which gives the ability to reorder and edit boards. So that would be scheduling out. We haven't put milestones on it, but probably 13.10, 13.11 to add that functionality and get to parity with issue boards. So that's our biggest effort and our focus. We also have a small direction level issue here, which is commenting on epics doesn't show in a user's activity feed. And so some of our users who work in epics or higher up aren't getting credit essentially for what they worked on. And it's hard to also go back in your activities and see what you did the next day if you want to call them up again. So that one is a part of our epic called epic parity with other objects. And that just is really important in terms of getting our users, getting these objects to perform like our users are expecting. The third one that we're doing is a big push from the engineering team to implement all of these counters. And so they're going to break off maybe half of them in 13.9, the rest in 13.10. This one isn't a direction issue, but this will help us see how our users are really interacting with epics and help us to make better product decisions based on those. So those are our roadmap, new and direction issues that we're doing. If we go over into important bugs, we have a bug that just surfaced around the filters we were building in 13.9. And so you could see here in this in the screenshot, there's actually an issue when you filter on milestone that we're getting duplicated epics showing up in the UI. So we're going to release a fix for that and actually shift the release of filtering by milestone and by confidentiality to 13.9 as well, once we deal with this issue, because it's fairly major. And that's it, I think, for the product planning team. Jeremy, it looks like you have one question.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks a lot, Christen. I'm really excited to see Epic boards kind of come to fruition. I think that the feedback that I hear from customers is that want to make epics a lot easier to use, allow you to visualize things at a very high level, and allow customers to kind of shift and kind of drag and drop kind of how they their kind of planning process at a high level. So I think it's going to be super useful for our customers at a high level. So I'm really excited to see that. Do you mind stopping sharing your screen real quick?
Oh, sure.
Awesome, thanks. And I also appreciate you continuing to prioritize instrumentation. The Epic comments, the Epic interactions, I think is the right way to kind of move towards, how we count interactions in usage ping so we can understand that. I wonder, is there like a specific aspect of Epic interactions that you're kind of really curious to see? Because right now I think we just measure Epic creations. Is there like something that you think you're going to see that you're specifically looking for by expanding the pie?
Yeah, well, I think that the commenting is going to be really big. Like, our discussions happening on epics, do they happen on, it's a question I have, because like we aren't tracking it currently, and to put that up against issues, do people get into rich conversations on epics, or like that's a question that I don't know yet, so this will expose that. Also just seeing how much we use some of these features that we're spending time on, like confidentiality or like anything that we'd be putting into the filters. It's interesting to see the usage, because then we could prioritize which ones we do first. So I think that will also help us with our roadmap once we start seeing those.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
It really is frustrating that Epic comments don't show up on your activity feed, and it's hard to kind of understand where the discussion is happening. So I think it's a great, great idea, great change, and thanks for prioritizing Epic boards. And again, it's like there's a great example of iteration, because you held off things like removal, as I recall, for a future iteration.
Yeah.
So good work scoping that down to like just the basics, so we can start getting value out of it. It's awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what's ahead for project management. Gabe Weaver would normally be representing. He's out of office on the beach. Super excited for him to spend some time out of office. So what's ahead for project management kind of falls into three overall themes. I think the first one I'm going to talk about is really around our use of making iterations like a first-class and lovable feature. This is really important because GitLab is a very powerful project management tool, but for teams that are operating in an agile environment and frequently using sprints to be able to organize their work on a week to week, 2-week basis, we want to make sure that this is a tool that is lovable, easy to use, and something that teams can really rely on a day-to-day basis. So in that spirit, we're going to continue to concentrate on iterations and making it a really first-class feature. The first way that we're doing this is by finishing off of an effort we started in a previous release by adding iteration lists in boards. So boards right now iterations can be filtered on boards, but that's only one at a time. And what we would like to be able to iterate towards is having multiple iteration lists on a board, so you can take an issue and then drag it from iteration to iteration in order to sort through exactly which iteration an issue will land in. So this will allow a user that is using a board with a Scrum team or to see multiple iterations in a single board and be able to drag and drop an issue from one iteration to another depending on your needs on a sprint-to-sprint basis. This becomes a real superpower when you also enable Epic swim lanes to horizontally split the number of your work, where eventually you'll be able to see after this change epics on a horizontal basis and then iterations, so you can clearly see how work in a particular epic is breaking down across sprints. This is a really, really powerful feature, and I'm really, really excited to see this happen. The next couple of changes are making our further iterations 2 iterations that improve the feature. We'll be able to delete an iteration. Previously, if you create an iteration that you didn't want to use, you can't delete it. You'll be able to now. And also, you'll be able to add iterations to the past, where you have data from previous sprints that you're moving over from a previous tool, and you want to make sure that you have a clear understanding of iterations that happened in the past, or maybe you're in the middle of a sprint right now and the sprint date has already begun. You want to be able to create a record for that in GitLab. Now you'll be able to find iteration data that have started in the past. I think the last issue that I'm really excited about is being able to group issues by label within the iteration report. So currently, we have an iteration report in the group view that is kind of analogous to what you'll see for milestones. So you'll be able to click into an iteration, and you'll be able to see a burn down chart and a burn up chart of all the issues that fall into that iteration. But the challenge here is that you also want to be able to break this down a little bit further. Well, you might want to be able to see this split out by team, where teams are typically split out by label. So you'll be able to group issues by this dimension, and you can see in this Figma report, you'll be able to see, like at the top, a particular label, and you'll be able to see a breakdown of all the issues in that iteration that fall underneath that label. We're still iterating on exactly how we're going to handle pagination between if it's the scroll or pagination, but this, I think, makes the iteration report so much more powerful by allowing a Scrum Master or an engineering manager to kind of see what's going on at a high level and have a clear breakdown of which teams are, what the status of the issue depending on the label and team status. We're also getting a start on iteration cadences. So we're not going to ship this in 13.9, but I'd like to just kind of preview this to where we're going, which is, iterations right now have to be manually created on an ongoing basis. In the future, we want to be able to define a specific iteration cadence for a particular team and allow that team to go ahead and on an automated basis, create new iterations that they can use to plan future work. This, I think, is going to make this feature, iterations, really lovable. I'm really excited to see where this is going. And I think, continuing to invest into iterations is going to be a big focus of the project management team going forward. The other theme that I'm going to talk about is extensible issues. So iterations is going to be the focus. Extensible issues, I think, is not far behind. What we want to do is we want to make issues really, really powerful by eventually introducing customizable issue types and allowing you to specify kind of the type of issue which comes with it, predefined content, predefined rules. We need to iterate in order to get there. And you can see that we did this, we had a first iteration of this where we started by introducing the issue type where there's only 2 issue types at the moment, issue and incident. Well, in order to make this actually more useful, we're going to start by 13.9 by allowing you to filter issues on that attribute in issue boards and issue lists. So now you'll be able to filter for specific incidents. And that's just the start, because we're going to continue to build on this concept of issue types in the future by getting a start on converting plan objects to issue types. So all types of issues, epics and issues, will be considered in the future an issue type. And once we've accomplished that, we're going to work on on more richer customizability by allowing you to define specific content for specific issue types. So for example, if an issue is an incident, default the discussion order to a certain type, default like a issue template type of content to the issue description, and allow you to have a lot more richer control over issue types. In the future, it's entirely possible there'll be specific workflows that'll be associated with specific issue types, and it'll become a really rich and powerful tool for your organization. So we're going to continue to iterate on this concept of issue types in the future and make issues more and more powerful over time. And so the last thing I'll talk about is this theme around usability. Like, we want to also, while we're working on these 2 big themes, really make the overall product experience of using project management in GitLab way more lovable, a lot more performant, and a lot more pleasant for our users. So we're tackling issues that have been in high demand for a while. And one of those is one I'm really excited about, which is using an OR operator in our filter bar. So right now we support we support and not in our filter bar, and we've had a lot of demand for OR. I'm happy to say that we're going to add it. One caveat is that OR is going to be limited to individual types of parameters, where you're able to say, I want to filter on a label, this label or that label, and you won't be able to filter on different dimensions like this assignee or this label. But in issues, MRs, epic lists, and boards, you're now going to be able to define like OR logic and be able to filter on it. With this Figma prototype, kind of shows a little bit of that experience. So you can see, you can kind of go in and you can see this person is actually defining some OR logic for the assignee. So you can actually like click on multiple assignees. And when you do that, you see the OR populate, where you can actually say, looking for issues that are assigned to Joe Smith or Allie. This is going to be a huge step forward for our filtering logic. Really excited for that, which will be landing in 13.9. And finally, I think another usability improvement that I'm super excited about is introducing group level description templates for issues, epics, and merge requests. Currently, we have the ability to define description templates at the project level. But I think the challenge is that if you have many, many different projects across a large organization, it's really painful to manage all of those templates in every single individual project. So now you're going to be able to specify a specific project within a group that serves as the source for the templates. You manage and then maintain them in a single project, and you'll see them populate everywhere across all the projects and all the subgroups within that group. So really excited for all these improvements. I think there's a lot of great stuff ahead in 13.9 for project management. But yeah, that's all. That's what we've got in store. Christen, do you have a couple of questions or comments? I think you might be on mute.
Yes, I was. Thank you. The grouping by label in the iteration report, that really jumped out at me. Just having talked to some executive users who wanted a similar thing around OKRs or labels or other things. So that was really cool. I wonder too, like just seeing that view, and it was using bullets in the list. And I know we were using a board over in the milestone report, like just getting a little more clarity around when we use those different roll-ups, the different types of ways we could show these issues and why, because I think we've got a couple different ways to view them right now.
Yeah, I think we need to be consistent about this. So I would love it if you would consider just pinging Holly on it, and then if there's any, because that's on a pattern that I'd love to be able to reuse in the milestone view. And then
it's so cool.
Yeah, it's really nice. I think I could definitely, like you've been thinking about managing OKRs and how to kind of handle like larger initiatives. I think that we got to make sure that that pattern and that approach makes sense for your use case as well. So, you know, the issue's linked here, so feel free to click into it and click around on the prototypes. But I think it's a great point.
Awesome. And then I'm also just excited also to see the issue type filter, which I think will be amazing especially when we go and add epics as issuables. And also the or filter are really cool in terms of the filtering. Do you happen to know if those are in the pajamas, the new filter object we're using on roadmaps? Do you know if that's shared code under the hood, or?
I don't know. I'll ask. I'm happy to ask in the issue.
Yeah.
I linked the front end issue here, and I think we have someone working on it now. So I think it's a great point, though.
Yeah, it would be cool also just have those be consistent. So our roadmap one is also consuming and getting that or operator.
Oh yeah,
it's really, really cool.
That'd be great if you can get that for free. Absolutely. Cool. Awesome. Well, I think that's it. Thanks a lot for the time, and really excited for what's ahead in 13.9. Thanks, Christen.
Thank you.